Hey guys, Dave Jr. with Well Built Equipment. Don't forget to check us out on the web, wellbuiltequipment.com, on socials at Aerial Lift Repairs. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, comment in the comments section down below. Today we're coming to you out in the field with our newest addition to the rentals and sales fleet, our Hyrax 27.41, or for the US side, 34-foot platform height, under 7,000 pounds, lightweight tracked machine. This machine gets your feet to 34 feet, gives you side reach of over 20, drives on up to a 15-degree slope without outriggers, and comes in under 6,600 pounds, so you can run it on a standard gravity tilt trailer without a CDL behind your 2,500 or larger. Today we're going to go through the features of this machine, walk around, show you how we load and unload it onto a trailer, and then we're going to hop in a ditch and take you guys up for a ride. So let's go ahead and take a look at how we have the Hyrax strapped down on the truck for transport. You can see we got one ratchet strap going across the basket, which has a nice reinforced tow bar here, not just some little flimsy piece of metal or something that's going to rub through the strap or your shoes up. Going across over the protective cover over the top of our platform rotator, not creating any weird contact points or anything. And then down underneath the basket, you can see on the deck we're sitting down on the rubber cushion, which is keeping this thing from 1, destroying our trailer, 2, moving anywhere, and 3, messing up the bottom of this beautiful platform. Then tie down options wise on the Hyrax 27.41, you have a couple of different ways you can do it. You can see the way we have it tied down here is outbound in the edges of the track carriage here. So we got 4 straps on it going down to the side of our trailer. Or you can go through the rather oversized tie-down points that are marked with red on either the front or the rear of the machine. And then go ahead and show you still a little bit of room here, but the way the Hyrax sets up, most of the weight is pretty much right over those axles. So this thing tows great behind my Ram 2500, no problem. You can barely even tell it's back there. Of course, you got a Cummins in there, so that does help a little bit. But when you load it on this tilt trailer, that's the big advantage of it. There's no deck over required, so the trailer weight's down, the width of the trailer is down, and we're going in between the wheel wells. And we're not scrubbing them like you might on other machines, such as your nifty SD64, or things that are right at the width of the trailer. You can see we got a good amount of distance, 5 or 6 inches on that side, and a good 5 or 6 inches on this side clear. So it's not like you have to be perfectly lined up when you're loading and unloading it on the trailer. You got a little bit of room there. So then over on the opposite side of the trailer here, you can see this is where the strap comes over top of the protective cover above our platform rotator. Again, it's not hitting any hoses or anything. Really well designed, very well protected. It's obvious that they were keeping in mind that this stuff is normally an impact area on other machines that are out there. Good? All right, here we go. Let's fire her up and take her off the trailer. We got the auto leveling on. You can see right away the basket keeps up with me. And then as we drive off, I'm gonna rotate a little just so I don't hit the wheel wells on the trailer. The leveling on this thing is pretty fast. So you can see even as I'm coming off the trailer, I'll kick the jib out, but it's going to keep up the auto level even on the basket, not just the base of the machine. So we're off the truck now. We're going to go ahead and extend the counterweight back. And that's just simple toggle switch up in the basket or down below. It's got a limit switch for all the way in or all the way out. So you just keep going until that limit switch hits. Keep going. And then you hear the engine idle down, and we're all the way out. All right, then we're gonna go ahead and extend our tracks out. You can do this in place, but it's a little bit hard on the tracks. So what we like to do is put that down into Rhino and then start moving forward and go out at the same time you go forward. So that takes us from narrow enough to go through a double gate to wide enough to be stable on those slopes. You hear the engine idle down, tracks are all the way out. Alright, so while we're up in the basket, before we go up in the air, I want to take a couple of minutes here to just show you guys how the controls work on this machine. So obviously we have the emergency stop up here, and you have your track, extend, and retract, your counterweight slide toggle switch, headlights on and off. Then we have Cheetah and Rhino for the engine speed. Over here we have our engine start and stop toggle switch, so you can start it and kill it without power cycling the machine. To our far left, this is our enable button, so if you don't want to use the dead man foot pedal, you can hold down this button up on the controls and then be able to operate everything without having to put your foot physically on the foot pedal. Then up in the corner here, we have our manual tilt left and right for when we turn off auto level, and our level for the basket. So when auto level's off, you do gain some drive speed. That's why we have the reset switch here. For the most part, though, you're going to leave that on with the green light on the machine whenever you're operating it. And then going through the controls here, everything function-wise when you're using the machine's fully proportional controls. So all the way to the left, we have our turntable rotate, primary boom up and down, extend retract, jib is up and down, and then even platform rotates proportional left and right with that joystick. Then over to the right, we have dual drive joysticks for the track control. We got a lot of questions when doing demos as to why there's not just one. For those of you who do operate tracked equipment, you know that when you're on a slope, you can get quite a bit of pull in one direction or the other. Having two joysticks allows you to control the machine better on a slope, and you can kind of compensate if one starts to slip because maybe the ground's a little bit loose or you're overcoming a curb or something like that. Really, once you get used to it, it's not too bad to drive with one hand. It's actually quite easy, and you can hold on to the railing over here, and then with your other hand, still with one hand, be able to drive and move the machine into position. Then we have a full onboard diagnostics on this machine and a display of everything that's going on with the piece of equipment. So you can see right now, 295 pounds in the basket. That's a lie. I haven't drank that much beer in the last 2 weeks. So it's a little bit off. We'll have to get that recalibrated. But anyway, down here on the left, we have our fuel gauge. And then these two gauges are the important ones. We're in transport mode, and that allows us to drive if we want to. But it also gives us the amount of reach we have left and height we have left on the machine in a gauge. And again, that's based entirely on the weight that's in the basket. So you're getting your automatic envelope control, and it's adjusting for it before you even go out, so you know how much reach you have. If we go into the menu here, you can see we have a readout for all of our sensors. Let me adjust my camera a little bit here, and then I can go through them. There's readouts for pretty much everything on it, even the fuses, sensors that are on the Kubota diesel engine, relays. Then this is the outputs for the base control. And then these are actually reading out the voltages going to the valves to run the individual functions. So that's easy diagnostics check if we're trying to determine if there's an issue with the machine. And then here we go. This even allows us to test our toggle switches. So I'm going to go ahead and hit tracks in and out here. Everything that you can touch on this is able to be read out without having to open up the panel and use a meter. So here we go, inputs, basket controls, tracks to in, tracks to out, counterweight to in, out, counterweight to in. So you can see even a toggle switch we can test without having to pull a meter out. It's very end user friendly. And then these are all of our joysticks. So I'll show you the operated joystick. We can do a quick test to make sure that they're all working the way that they should. And there we go. So let's go ahead and fire this bad boy up and take you guys for a ride. Start. You can see we have the auto level on. See again, super easy to operate. I'm driving it with one hand here. Wait for a car to go by. You guys stop the traffic here. going to go ahead and extend the jib out while I'm driving. I can rotate the basket to kind of swing you guys around. I'm going to click it down into Rhino here to go into the ditch. Again, I mean, you can see I'm holding my camera off my chest mount and then driving with the other hand. It's super smooth. That automatic leveling kicks in and we can go right down the embankment and into the ditch and get off of the roadway. You know, if you're working on a construction site, obviously there might not be a road right there, but this ditch just so happens to be a good place to show you guys what this bad boy can do. And then while we're in here, I just want to show you guys the readout here. So in the top right corner of our screen, you can see the slope that we're actually on. Again, this machine operates up to a maximum 15-degree angle. So super easy for us to tell if we're going to be able to use the full capacity of the machine. And then if you look, hit the kill switch. If you look down there at the base, it's tilted quite a bit to the side, right down into the ditch. It's nice and stable. I can give it a pretty good rock and it's still very firm-footed. Go ahead and fire it back up and then I'll show you guys how she works. So we're going to go up, and then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to purposely extend out and get it to its reach point so you guys can see what the screen does. Keep extending out. Okay, so now it comes up end of reach, lets me know the functions that I can operate. So I can do the boom, I can do the jib. Green arrow up means that I can retract, and if I try to drive, driving not allowed, go to safe, it's telling me what I need to do. So if I retract back in, see driving still not allowed. This is the under CDL model. So it loses some of that side reach by quite a bit because the machine's, you know, over 3,500 pounds lighter than its bigger brother. But once we get inside that distance, we're back in transport mode. Now if I go to operate drive, the machine operates as it should. All right, so let's go ahead and raise it up in the air. And I'll extend out at the same time. This thing's super fast for being able to do this on the slope that it's on. Just as fast, if not faster, than machines its size and larger that are full-size wheeled units. And again, once you get up to full height, we're at 34 feet. Well, actually about 30 because I got the jib down under this tree branch here. You can see we can drive on this slope. And just to show that I'm not cheating or anything, there you go. We're at 12 degrees of side slope. Now that I'm under the tree branch, let's get that extension out all the way. There we go. And give her a drive. For those of you wondering if it's going to put the fear of God in you, or maybe you got to go get the spare pair of underwear from the truck when you're driving in the air, this thing is crazy smooth. It's smoother than any other lift you'll drive in the air because it's auto leveling everything while you're driving. The base, the jib, platform, it works awesome. Let's go ahead and sucker back in and I'll show you guys how we load it on the trailer. So while we got it set up in the ditch here, I'm going to hop down and then show you guys how we're set up and how the machine is auto leveling itself. So you see we got the tracks out. Those are our extend retract cylinders. And then everything below this chassis point here stays with the tracks. So you always maintain constant ground contact that way. It's not like spider lifts where if you extend them down when you're driving across a slope, then you only get partial contact on the tracks. With this type of setup, rather than the extensions, the swing out, you actually get to keep them flat across the grade. which is really nice for getting traction on there and grabbing in and not sliding away into the ditch. And then really the business end of this machine is down here. So you've got a couple of work lights, that comes standard on there. And then this is our pivot point that's going to make up that 15 degrees of slope that this machine can accommodate. It's all automatic again. It seems super simple. It really is. Basically on this machine what they did is they took all the stuff that's on every other machine and are actually using it. So nowadays, if you guys are in construction, you're familiar with the implementation of load cells onto equipment, which truly limits, to the point that it's supposed to have been the whole time, how much weight you can have in the basket. So our load cell's down in here, nice tucked away and protected. With that, there's a whole bunch of other safety features that came up, that we have new sensors on the equipment and not a lot of people are using them. In the case of Hyrax, those sensors are on the equipment and all of them are actually used. So we have platform angle sensor, jib angle sensor, chassis angle sensor, boom length sensor. All of that's used to auto level the machine rather than just sitting there in a standby and reading and alerting you if you go on to too much of a slope. It actually allows you to go on to more of a slope and be more stable. So kind of come back this way and you can see the slope we're working on. Not too shabby for a machine that's not even 6,600 pounds. And again, on the back side here, so we got work lights built in. Here's our lower controls, just like a standard boom lift. Not a lot of operator training needed if you are used to using a boom lift already. Pop open the covers. Everything's nice, easy to read. We have levers for lowering and running the functions of those valves in the event of an emergency. Let's come around to the other side of the machine. Pop open the cover. And then if you have both of the gull wings open on the Hyrax like they are right now, then the back cover pops open. So you get nice, easy access to the engine. And then this is really where you can tell the quality difference between this and so many other machines that we see come through our shop. Even the exhaust has good heat wrap on it, so it's not damaging components around it. The electric motor for your auxiliary lowering is hidden back up there, tucked out, away from the elements. But also, if you remove this cover with just a couple bolts, it's real easy to get to if you need to maintain it. It's not down in the middle of a boom underneath a metal cover that, I don't know, maybe if the machine's disabled, you can't get to the motor. This one's right there in the open. Fuel pump, both fuel filters, oil filter, everything's real easy to get to. And then you got this big beast here, big old Rexroth high flow pump. Instead of stacking 3 little tiny pumps on there and combining all the hoses together to try and make up the volume of fluid needed on this machine, this has a big top of the line pump built right onto the Kubota diesel. This thing screams, it keeps up, it never skips a beat. It's not 3 things to break, it's 1 thing to break, and ultimately it should last a really long time because it's a quality component. So a lot of people ask us, hey, this machine's a little expensive for going up 34 feet. Expense is very relative to us in the lift industry. When you do things like put high quality components into a piece of equipment, you get the lifetime out of it, you get the reduced breakdowns, you make a machine reliable where it truly replaces a ladder because it's not costing you downtime on the job sites. Go over here, take our little church key. On this side, one of our enclosures, relays, fuses, everything's right in the open, easy to get to, not pushed on with spade connectors. They're actually screwed on with ring terminals so they don't come off. Everything's nice and clean and well labeled and accessible. Standard Bosch relays like you would find on a Ford engine. Go pick them up at the auto parts store if they go bad. Standard Bosch start alternator relays. Go pick them up at an auto parts store if they go bad because maybe your guy was cranking the heck out of it. If you need to change the battery, it's right out here in the open. It's not hidden underneath a cover. There's a battery disconnect switch for when you're not going to use it for a while. All the hoses where they come to union points are clearly labeled, zip tied, grouped together, very easy to see what they are, what they're doing, where they go to. They're not hidden behind some cover, impossible to work on. There's no guessing game of figuring out where it goes because they are labeled and they follow the schematics for this machine really well. We'll go back here to the other side and show you guys. Here's our drive pump manifold. Same thing in the event you need to run this machine out of somewhere. We override the sensors with a switch, turn the engine on. Two handles that are up here stored can either run retract or primary up and down, or you can use them to drive the machine so you can get it out of the position that it's in, get it to a clean area, maybe if it was buried in the mud or on the side of the road or behind a house, and a lot easier to work on to fix whatever the issue is. But the way this thing is designed should be a quick fix anyway. The menus are really taking care of a lot of our end user headaches on this one. Right, so with the covers closed on the machine, we can reach in here and see here's where our hydraulic return filter is. Again, the tank's nice and covered, protected in an area where hopefully you don't knock it in some fashion, but customers do always seem to impress us. And then you can look in here, kind of see the business side of things. This cylinder that's going back and forth is our cylinder that brings the whole counterweight, turntable, assembly, engine and all in and out from transport mode. And then down there you can see the tilt cylinders for the machine that are actually holding it level right now on this slope that we got it parked on. Take a quick tour of the undercarriage. I already showed you guys where the tie down points are, / winching points. God forbid you do need to do that. You can see here's our cylinders for extending the tracks in and out. Everything's nice painted, covered up, nothing is unfinished. There's bellows over the cylinder rods because, you know, you're probably going to drive it through some stuff. And then on the other side of the machine even, there's a full skid plate. You can drop it down, access everything underneath. Really protects the whole base of the machine. There's nothing hanging down, almost no hoses exposed. Everything, again, nice and clean. Come down to the drive motors, there's good bulkhead fittings. If you do rip a hose off, it's a very short run back to replace that. Same thing with the drive motor hoses, very short run. Our only suggestion is if you are running this in and out of the mud a lot, when it comes back, be sure to take this cover off the back side of your drive motors. Get that all cleaned out. You don't want a bunch of dirt and stuff sitting in there, rusting the machine out. You know, anytime there's a spot where water's sitting, you can fill a weep hole pretty easily on the bottom of this by driving it through some stuff. Take the one bolt out, pop the plate off when you go to pressure wash it. Good to go. Then on the base here, a couple of caps covering up the channels. Again, nothing's open where you can get things into it. It's all real covered and protected. The tracks themselves, they come standard as a non-mark. These have a zigzag pattern on them, which works really good for holding down on a side slope. Come up underneath the middle of the machine. We have our lifting eye points if you're going to crane it. Here and up there. Every lifting point and tie down, again, is marked in red. And then here's our diesel fill cap, which does have a lock on it for those areas where someone might siphon it, put sugar in your gas tank, turn this into a jalopy, what have you. A couple valves, hoses up under there. All Parker hoses and fittings running up to the boom. Tough cover style, very well done. They spared no expense on this thing and given us the highest quality components, which will make it last. Then we come down the boom arm, you can see nothing's exposed on it. It's nice and clean, has covers right here and wipers to keep stuff from going down into the boom tube. Covers up over the top to protect everything. And everything's really beefy on this, so even the parts that articulate the jib, instead of having those two thin bars that go down, it's a solid piece of metal. The cylinder is concealed up here, and then it's operated with a chain. So that's kind of some old school tech, or maybe comes from a bucket truck. If you're more familiar with one of those, you might be used to chain drive things or cable drive. In this case, it really allows for that crazy articulation where the jib will even go backwards some when you're transporting it or way up in the air. And again, like I was saying before, you come down where the hoses do have a spot that's a straight run. Stainless steel hard lines. These are covered and protected. Again, minimal amounts exposed. All of our sensors, nice covered and protected as much as possible or concealed away even the top of the platform rotator and everything has plates on it to keep you from damaging the components. When you come over to the basket, we have this extra rail here, so if you do bump into something while you're holding on, you don't smash your hands. On the larger models, the basket's a bit bigger than this one. This is the under CDL version, so it's got the smaller basket on it, which still comfortably fits 2 people. It's bigger than a 30 or 40 foot electric articulating boom for those of you who rent those types of equipment from your rental place. And then we got a nice flip top cover that closes and has a latch, so when you're not using it or transporting it down the road, everything's nice and sealed up. And then below there, we have reach charts on where the machine will actually go to, what your reach is. That red line is your travel distance with 220 pounds in the basket, and then this shows you your reach forward. Then my favorite thing for built-in stuff, if you're a guy who's doing windows, gutters, siding, you name it, and you need to carry materials with you, flip down panel cradles built right into it. And there you go, stick your window on there. When you're not using them, instead of having to unbolt it, you just flip them up right out of the way, and then you're not running into anything with them. If you look underneath the basket, everything again is really well built. And you even got a work light down underneath there to light up where you're going from below the basket instead of just being on the back of the boom arm. So before we go and load it up, I'll just give you guys a quick walk around so you can see where we drove down into. Not too bad for a lift under 6,600 pounds without outriggers. So now we're back down here and had to reposition the camera a little bit so you guys can see this. Let's go ahead and drive her out of the ditch. You see we're going to come over the breakover angle, and we're already level. There's no delay like there is on an Alma crawler or Bibby or Jibby lift or one of the other speed level type machines. It's all automatic. I'm not hitting any switches. I'm driving with one hand going on the road. It's really quite awesome. And from an end user experience for us as a rental company, it's phenomenal to just send a machine out and not get calls about how to operate it, or it's locking me out, or it won't let me drive. The Hyrax has really kind of changed that for us, especially in that 2 to 3 story home category, where before we really didn't have a piece of equipment that we could give those customers. This allows us to go to those places. You can go onto a residential construction site and actually not bury it. Because unlike commercial jobs, if you guys do residential stuff, you know, you don't put gravel down around the entire house usually, because there's not going to be a parking lot there, or there's not going to be a storage yard or a concrete pad. It's going to be grass at some point. So if you are building a new home, you can use this house, do your framing, put in your windows, your siding, wrap, gutters, roof, everything, and really not ever get stuck on those job sites or risk leaving huge ruts everywhere like you would with a 14 or 15,000 pound Z-boom or straight stick. So cruising along here, I just want to show you guys the difference. If I click off the auto level, it might not be noticeable to you, but you can feel in the basket the difference in the speed. So much so that it even gets a little shaky because it's picked up the pace. Alright, so let's go ahead, turn that back on, and we need to suck our tracks in. And get over to the side of the road first. And while we're driving, I'm just going to hold that toggle switch. And now you can see I got the tracks all the way in. Hopefully, if my video editing skills are good today, we'll have a little picture-in-picture thing that shows that from a different GoPro view of me expanding the tracks in and out. Then the other thing we got to do, we're going to slide our counterweight in. So that's just our toggle switch right here. And you can see the counterweight sliding in there. There we go. Okay, let's go ahead and boom up a little bit. Rotate the basket. You can see that quick. Everything's all lined up, ready to go. Can run multiple functions at once, almost lose no speed. And let's just go ahead and drive around to the truck. And here's that point I was saying where you can kind of feather it and you get used to driving with one hand. Raise my arm up a little. And let's pull it on the trailer. Suck my jib in. Leave a little room for the auto level. And I'm going to show you guys when we hit this breakover point. We're going to get tilted for a second, and then as soon as by the time the trailer's back down, boom, we're back to level. Look, no hands, Ma. Go ahead and bring the boom arm down. And there we go. All right, so now we got the lift loaded onto the trailer. Just gonna stand back here and show you guys how well it fits onto a standard gravity tilt trailer. This one's got 16 foot of tilt, 2 foot of tail, and 4 foot of flat. And everything's really well placed again in front of the wheels, right where we want it. All right, guys, so thanks for taking some time with us today to do the Down and Dirty with Dave on the Hyrax 27.41. Don't forget to reach out with any of your questions if you're looking to demo, rent, maybe just purchase one outright because our videos are so awesome. Comment in the comment section below. If you have any questions, again, you can always call our office at 708-279-7574. We never have computerized phones at Well Built Equipment. We're proud to be family owned and operated since 1987. I'm second generation. I work with my dad and my uncles. We have been and always will be your trusted access equipment partner for the future.
Really? Yeah, there, it's like, and it all the way to like there, and then it just went dark. Changed the battery pack.
Comment section down below. Oh, I said the wrong thing. Well, you might as well videotape me driving out. Oh, it's stuck. So we'll, I really f***ed up bad. That's okay, it'll work.